a little bit of Sunday evening work on the Kar98K. I think most everyone that's watched my channel for a while will recognize the rifle, but they may not recognize this scope and they may not recognize this stock because these are upgrades. I've been shooting this old Kar98K. It's a Gustloff 337. It's another one of my heartbreaker rifles. Numbers match and whatnot, but again, it's been turned into a deer rifle, like so many of them were. Turned down bolt and a Bueller safety, so pretty standard of the era. So there's the stock that was on it, complete with the modifications that someone else did on it. It shot well in that stock, and it wasn't bedded or anything. It just typical cross bolt 98 stock, and the rifle shot good in it. The problem is there's just way too much drop on the comb here when you have to have relatively tall rings to clear the bolt. Even with the turn down bolt, you have to have a fair amount of scope height to clear. So I shot it that way, and I brought home a couple certificates at military shoots, 300-yard optics, and I figured, you know, I might as well dress the rifle out a little better for shooting 300-yard optics. So a while back, I picked up this Boyd stock. It was on a discount rack at one of the local shops. I don't think I paid $100 for it. It was really heavily discounted. Didn't have any package or anything, just had a tag on it. And then I sourced this Weaver K10. It's a K10 60E, probably late 50s, early 60s vintage. It has the adjustable objective. And I've just got this mocked up with some Weaver rings of the era to kind of make it a period piece. You know, this stock's a little more modern than it ought to be, but to get the better cheek weld and the higher comb, I'm going to go ahead and make the sacrifice and put this modern stock on it. It's required a little bit of work on the inletting. I had to open it up just a little bit in a couple of areas with the stepped barrel. Now the sleeve with the rear sight has been removed from this one. This section, let's see, this section right here where the sight would be was a little tight in the stock, so I've done some gentle relieving up to this masking tape line just to get enough clearance to get it centered up and bedded, and then I'll open it up a little bit more clearance once everything's glued in there with the acroglass and bedding. But there's plenty of clearance up here in the front. I guess you'd call it the grip of the receiver to the bottom metal was really close on this stock, just a tiny bit of scraping and it went right in. I don't even think I took any more than the finish off of the mating surfaces from the bottom of the receiver to the stock, and everything fit real well. I did have to, let me see if I can do this one-handed. I did have to open up the bottom of the stock just a little bit further forward on the bottom metal. No problem there. I set it up on the machine and used a rotary drum to open that up a little further forward. It just needed a little extra length. And then the recess inside for the recoil lug needed a little bit of extra clearance to let the action slide back to where it needs to be. So I'll have just a little bit of room for some bedding around the tang, and you know, I'll bed it up here on the recoil lug. There's a lot of clearance right here at the very, I guess you'd say, breech end of the barrel here. I mean, there's a ton of clearance in there. I don't think I'm going to bed all that up. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the standard bed up to the recoil lug in the front of the receiver. We'll let this float and see how it goes. If it, you know, if it has any bad reactions to that, I've got plenty of other things I can do. I can add a tension screw if needed, or I can bed a little further up. They said this action shot well in this old laminated Kar98K stock. And all it had was the regular lug there, and you can see just the front of the receiver was rubbing there, and I think it was floated all the way out. Now this one does have a pressure pad up in the front that's adjustable with a screw, but it was not making contact. But yeah, this stock was ripe to be replaced. It's not pretty. It's got some sort of excavation back there for something, I don't know what, but it shot well in it is the thing. I hate to do much to it because it shot well in that stock. Said I had no problem getting things in the X-ring at 300 yards, even with a 4-power scope with this rifle. It shot real well, so I'm hoping I don't cause any harm going to a different stock. So we'll get it bedded up by the recoil lug and just make sure everything's nicely cleared and whatnot. The comb height on this stock is just right for the way that I mount it with this height Weaver rings, and I do have I do have enough clearance on my bolt handle here, so we're all good and well there. I'm doing this all one-handed, so it's kind of hard to see, but we're all set there. The Bueller safety works just fine. We roughed in the cut for the bolt handle over here. We'll still have to do a little bit of fine tuning there, but we got our clearance and everything's all good there. This receiver was already drilled and tapped for a receiver sight in for the rings when I bought the rifle. I bought the rifle super cheap. I think I paid $125 or $150 for the whole rifle. It didn't have a scope on it back then, and I had to do some work on the rear scope base. There's an old video of that where you'll see it, but got this mocked up. I think that it's not a T10, it's a K10, K1060, which variant? I think it was a 60B, K1060B, yeah. So that looks great on there, kind of a period scope for that sporterized Mauser, and I think that that's going to work out real well. That has the fine crosshairs in it, and I've been playing with the rifle a little bit, just mounting it up and looking at it. I had a different stock in addition to this one that is I don't remember if it's a Fajan or it could be a Bishop, I'm not sure, but that one isn't finished or anything, and it needs a lot more work on the inletting, so I decided to compromise and run this Boyd's, even though I think it's too modern for this action, but I think it's going to be a good setup. We'll get her put together. I'll get some we're just about ready for acro glass, so just a little bit more clearancing and convince myself that I'm all good. Everything's looking pretty centered here. I like that. What I'll probably do when I bed it, I'll probably wrap a shim around this portion of the barrel to make sure I'm centered in the channel and let everything just come in. I'll probably be a little strategic about, I don't think I'll glass it all at the same time. I'll probably maybe do the tang first, get that locked in, then do the recoil lug up front, and then do the bottom metal as a third operation. And then if I have to go back and touch anything up, take care of it from there. But like I said, I'm not going to fill this all up with bedding up here. I'm just going to get it just a skim at the recoil lugs. I don't even think I'm going to put it under the rails on the bottom of the receiver. It fits real nicely. We'll just let that ride. We'll grab it around the recoil lug in the front ring and the tang in the back. And I think it's all going to work out pretty well. So I'll have it going here pretty soon. I'm really fired up about getting some targets printed with it and seeing how it does with the better magnification. It'll be interesting to see if it requires some tuning of the load. I was shooting a load that worked really well with the way it was set up in that stock, and I was always surprised how well it shot. When I first started with the rifle, I wasn't so sure. I shot a few things with it and didn't find any magic, and then I started playing with some different stuff and stumbled across a bullet that works and a powder that works. Unfortunately, I was shooting IMR 4166 in it, and of course those Enduron powders have been discontinued, so I might have to find something different. But that's what's going on with the old Kar98K. Probably maybe tomorrow after work I'll perhaps work on getting some of the bedding in there, some acro glass, and get started on that. So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll probably have a little bit of action with the Kar98K pretty soon. Thanks for watching.